us as we've pulled this together. We come here tonight to listen and to learn, and we appreciate each of you coming out tonight to learn and give us your feedback. Special welcome, Senator Glenn Vilhauer is with us tonight. We appreciate our legislators paying attention to what's going on in the utility space. Our purpose this evening is to hold a public input meeting in docket number EL 26-014, entitled "In the Matter of the Application of Crown Ridge Energy Storage 1 LLC for a permit for an energy conversion facility." The three commissioners and our staff are here to listen. Tonight we will hear from you and listen to your input, and that input from you will help us formulate the questions that we will use down the road when we have our chance to ask questions at the evidentiary hearing. On May 14th, 2026, Crown Ridge Energy Storage, the applicant in this docket, filed with the Commission an application for an energy facility permit. They are seeking a permit from the PUC to construct and operate a 4-hour duration battery energy storage system, as well as associated facilities, which we will refer to as the project. The project would be connected to the existing Crown Ridge Wind Collector substation and be located in Codington County at the intersection of 464th Avenue and 161st Street. A copy of the application is on file with the Codington County Auditor. You can also access the full application and all other non-confidential documents in the official file at the Commission's website, which is at www.puc.sd.gov, and then you would go to Commission Actions, Commission Dockets, 2026 Electric Dockets, and then look for this one, which, as I said, EL 26-014. The purpose of the meeting this evening is to provide information to you, the public, about the proposed project and to hear your comments about the project. Interested persons have the right to present their views and comments regarding the application, and we want to encourage you to do so. Importantly, no decisions are being made tonight or in the immediate future. By law, the parties in this proceeding are at this time the applicant and Commission staff. And I want to introduce to you John Thurber. John, wave at the folks. And Jenny First. John Thurber and Ms. First, they are the staff that are assigned to work on this particular docket. After the meeting tonight or at any time, you may seek them out, ask them questions about the permitting process. When it comes to an open docket like this, the three commissioners sit as judges, and so it's important for us to not engage with conversation about the open or imminent docket. So what I mean by that is we can't talk to you outside of this formal public meeting, but you can certainly talk to Ms. First and Mr. Thurber. Under South Dakota law, each municipality, county, and governmental agency in the area where the facility is proposed to be constructed, or any interested person or organization, may be granted party status in this proceeding by making a written application to the Commission on or before 5 p.m. on July 13th. PUC staff have applications for party status available this evening. And if you'd like one, you want to pick it up from Brittany Olson, who you met when you came in. The form is also available on the Commission's website. I would like to emphasize to everyone that you do not need to become a party in this docket in order for your voice to be heard by the Commission. We will also be accepting comments in writing from anyone, either by mail, personal delivery, or emailing the Commission right up until the time of the decision. We've already received a number of those comments at the Commission. You only need to apply for party status if you want to participate formally in the case by putting on actual testimony or other factual evidence, conducting discovery, cross-examining witnesses, making legal arguments, etc., and to preserve your right to appeal to the courts if you don't believe our final decision is correct. I also want all of you to know that each of the commissioners and staff assigned to this docket thoroughly read all comments submitted by the public, and they are filed in the docket and available on our website. Your comments tonight and those filed in the docket help us understand what issues and concerns are important to you. They also help our staff formulate the questions in discovery that they will ask of the applicant and understand the unique needs of this community. For the permit to be approved, state law says that the applicants must show that the proposed facility will, number one, comply with all applicable laws and rules. Number two, will not pose a threat of serious injury to the environment, nor to the social and economic condition of inhabitants or expected inhabitants in the siting area. Number three, the facility will not substantially impair the health, safety, or welfare of the inhabitants. And number four, it will not unduly interfere with the orderly development of the region, with due consideration given to the views of governing bodies of affected local units of government. That's the criteria in law that we are dealing with. And based on those factors and those factors alone, the commission will decide whether the permit for the project should be granted, denied, or granted upon such terms and conditions and modifications of the construction, operation, or maintenance of the facilities as the commission finds appropriate. The law requires that we issue our decision within 12 months of the application being filed. So tonight, when it is your turn, we ask that you come to the microphone to speak, introduce yourself, spell your name when you speak, and give us your residence so we know where you live. We don't have a court reporter tonight, but we are making a recording of this meeting so that we can go back and listen to any of your comments. And so we ask that you speak as clearly as possible, and again, speak directly into the microphone. We're going to begin this evening by having the applicant make a presentation to explain the proposed project. And then following that presentation, we'll open it up to you. That will be your opportunity to make comments, ask questions, and we strongly encourage you to do just that. You obviously don't need to repeat what others might have said. You can simply say "me too" if that applies. Before we begin, we want to make sure that you all signed in when you came in, so we've got a record of who was here tonight. And obviously mute your cell phones. And with that, I'm going to ask the applicants to introduce themselves and give us their presentation. And once they're done with that, then it is going to be your turn.
I discovered that this
Punch.
I discovered the microphone doesn't extend to that end of the table, so I'm going to stand here briefly. My name is James Moore. I'm a lawyer here in South Dakota. I'm representing the applicant in this case, and the reason I'm here is because the legal entities such as Crown Ridge Energy Storage, which is a legal entity, can't appear before the commission without legal counsel. So, as Commissioner Nelson said, we have a presentation for you tonight to explain the project. And I'm just going to introduce the people who are up front with me to talk, who will be able to talk to you about the project and answer any questions you may direct toward us about the project. Clay Cameron is here from NextEra Energy Resources, and he's going to make most of the presentation and answer general questions about the project. Matt Quinn is here. He's going to talk to you about fire safety related questions. Then we have Jolene Schleifer, who's an environmental scientist, and she can answer questions about environmental issues. And lastly, Lori Laurel is here, and she has done a sound study related to this project and answered questions about sound. So I'm going to turn this over to Clay, and he can tell you a lot more about the project.
Good evening, commissioners, members of the audience. Uh, Thank you for coming out tonight. As Mr. Moore said, my name is Clay Cameron. I'm an executive director with NextEra Energy Resources. I oversee all of our late-stage renewable development projects in North Dakota, South Dakota, and part of Minnesota. As Mr. Moore introduced, Lori and Matt Quinn, they were going to be specific presenters of things related to in this presentation related to fire and safety and also the sound modeling that was completed for the Crown Ridge Energy Project. We appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight as part of the South Dakota Public Utilities Commission public input process. The goal tonight is pretty straightforward. I'm going to walk through what the project is, introduce NextEra Energy Resources and what we do, explain how a battery system works, describe what it means for the community, and most importantly, hear your questions and feedback related to the project. The project is called the Crown Ridge Energy Storage 1. It is a battery storage energy system with a total output of 120 megawatts, 4-hour duration, which equals 480 megawatt hours. The project is located in Codington County on approximately 52.7 acre parcel, with only about 7 acres of the project of that specific acreage being developed for the battery project. The key timeline for this project is construction is targeted to begin once all permits are received. The commercial operation expected to begin in May of 2028, and the expected operating life is approximately 35 years. So I'd like to provide some background on who we are. NextEra Energy Resources is one of the largest energy infrastructure developers with more than 35 years of experience developing, operating energy projects across the country. Today, our portfolio includes roughly 22 gigawatts of wind, 10 gigawatts of solar, and 5 gigawatts of battery storage. We work with utilities and communities across 41 states and more than 400 projects, all within a focus on reliable, safe, and affordable energy. In 2025 alone, our subsidiaries invested approximately $3.1 million in the community programs and contributed more than $260 million in local property taxes and fees. That commitment to reliability, safety, and community partnership is what we bring to the Crown Ridge Energy Storage Project. NextEra Energy Resources has been investing in South Dakota for more than 2 decades. Since 2003, our subsidiaries have invested approximately $840 million in the state while creating economic benefits through local payroll, landowner payments, and property tax contributions. Today, we own and operate 4 wind energy centers in South Dakota and have 2 battery storage projects currently under development. This existing footprint demonstrates our long-term commitment to the state and our ability to successfully develop and operate energy infrastructure while working closely with local communities and landowners. Battery energy storage plays an increasingly important role in today's electric grid. It helps keep the lights on by balancing supply and demand and delivering power when it's needed most. Battery storage also strengthens energy independence by keeping more energy resources local, supports economic growth by providing reliable electricity for businesses and manufacturers, and can reduce the need for costly new generation and transmission infrastructure. Perhaps the most important function is a battery storage allows us to capture energy produced by wind and solar resources and use it later, helping make renewable energy available around the clock. Communities choose NextEra because of our experience and track record. Our subsidiaries have safely operated battery storage facilities for more than a decade and currently operate over 60 battery projects across the U.S. and Canada. As the nation's leading battery storage developer and operator, we develop industry-leading safety practices and operational expertise. Beyond reliability benefits, our projects contribute to local jobs, tax revenue, and long-term economic value. Most importantly, we've committed to building lasting relationships and being a trusted community partner wherever we operate. This slide shows how a battery energy storage system is built. At the most basic level, individual battery cells on the left are grouped into modules, which are assembled into racks and then housed within secure outdoor cabinets to the far right. Each cabinet is equipped with advanced monitoring, thermal management, fire detection, and automatic protection system designed to keep the systems operating safely. An energy management system oversees charging, discharging, and overall performance, helping ensure reliable operation. The key takeaway is these facilities are highly engineered systems with multiple layers of controls and safety features built into every level of the design. This slide illustrates how battery storage works. Electricity generated from resources like wind and solar is stored in a battery system. When that energy is needed, smart inverters convert it from DC power to AC power. Transformers increase the voltage to match the transmission requirements, and the energy is delivered to the electric grid. The entire process is automated, monitored, and designed to provide reliable electricity when demand is at the highest. Simply put, battery storage allows energy to be saved when it's available and delivered when customers need it most. This slide shows a typical battery energy storage facility layout. One of the biggest advantages of battery storage is its relatively small footprint. These facilities are designed to be compact while storing a significant amount of energy. They're typically located near existing substations and transmission infrastructure, which minimizes the need for new electrical facilities and reduces land impacts. Projects are engineered to meet local requirements, including sound standards, and the entire site is secured with fencing, gates, and access roads to support the safe operation and emergency response. Overall, battery storage is a flexible technology that can be integrated into existing energy infrastructure with minimal community impact. This slide shows the preliminary layout of the Crown Ridge Energy Storage 1 project. One of the key benefits is that we're able to utilize the existing Crown Ridge wind substation and transmission infrastructure connecting through underground collection lines rather than building significant new facilities. The project is expected to begin with about 126 battery cabinets and may grow to approximately 150 cabinets over the life of the project due to augmentation. By using existing infrastructure and an underground connection, we can minimize land disturbance and community impacts while providing reliable energy storage that strengthens the electric grid. I'm going to defer to my colleague Lori Morell for this next slide.
Can you hear me? I'm Lori Moore, and I did a comprehensive sound level study for this project.
I'm gonna get as close to that thing as you can.
Oh, here we go. Is that better? Too much? Okay. So I'm Lori Morrill. I'm with Exelon Associates. I'm a lead scientist in the acoustics group, and I conducted a comprehensive sound level study for the project. What we did was we constructed a model, including the sound sources associated with the battery storage, the proposed battery storage system. We also included the 3 closest wind farms in the calculation and the associated substations. And the results of those calculations show that with assuming everything, all the equipment is running at maximum load simultaneously, which will be a fairly rare occurrence. With the mitigation plan for the project, we're showing that we will meet the sound level limits imposed by the Codington County Commission at all nearby residences, and those limits are 45 dBA, 45 weighted decibels for non-participants, and 50 decibels for participants. I'll leave it there for now, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
And then, Mr. Quinn, could you talk about the next slide, please?
I like what James did it here. My name's Matt Quinn. I'm a fire safety consultant. And the reason I'm here is batteries, when operating properly, don't present a hazard at all. However, if there is a problem with the battery, and it fails, experiences battery failure, a battery fire will result. Now, for systems like this is exceedingly rare because there are layered redundant safety features that are required in order to meet standards. Okay. The foundation of this is NFPA 855. It's kind of the standard that collects all the standards underneath it and the requirements that you have to meet. There are two main focuses to this. They want to make the idea is to make a fire as unlikely as possible. And then if there is a fire, because back when I've been in the fire service for 22 years now, I know that unlikely things can happen. So you have to be prepared for that. So we're going to make them as unlikely as possible. And if it does happen, the impact is going to be as minimal as possible. And these are designed with that in mind. Specifically, one of the key features is the energy management system that Clay mentioned earlier. This has cell level oversight of the entire system, which becomes very important because batteries don't fail randomly, really. They fail if there is a problem with it, if it was potentially defective, or if it becomes damaged. Now, 855 guarantees that certified high level battery components are used at each level. And the oversight of the energy management system will be able to recognize any abnormality, any misbehavior, any temperature spike, any indication of impending problem, automatically shut it down and isolate that system and make proper notifications. This is very important. On top of this, the physical location of the battery is very important. It is protected from physical damage. It's inside a large container that's waterproof also, and it's stationary. We know exactly where it is. 855 ensures all these to make it as unlikely as possible. Now, for the total time affiliation, total fuels, in the event there is a problem, the system is designed, 855 demands that there is a failure in the battery. It is designed to stay where it is and not travel beyond that specific area. The physical orientation of the cabinet is designed with this in mind. It kind of guarantees this, but it also needs to be tested to meet that. In this case, you need a large-scale fire test. These containers are set on fire and everything is recorded, so we can understand how it works and feel confident that the fire is going to develop and progress as expected. This is important to ensure that impact is as localized as possible. And it's also important that the local fire department is aware of all this. So in the unlikely event that anything happens, the first responders are going to have training and an emergency response plan, have all the equipment and the information they need to be able to respond. And all that is guaranteed and codified in the FDA 55. I have to answer any questions. Just go all out on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. I would just like to add that commissioners and members of the public, we work very closely with local emergency responders by providing training, resources, and emergency action plans to ensure the facility is prepared to operate safely through its life. As we wrap up tonight, the key takeaway is that Crown Ridge Energy Storage 1 is designed to provide safe, reliable energy benefits for both the local community and the broader electric grid. Battery storage helps strengthen grid reliability by storing energy when it's available and delivering when it's needed most. The project is also expected to provide local benefits through tax revenue, economic impact, economic investment, and support for the regional energy infrastructure. Safety remains our highest priority with proven technologies, multiple layers of protection, and 24/7 monitoring. Most importantly, we're committed to being a long-term partner in Codington County and working collaboratively with the community throughout the life of the project. With that, I'd like to end my presentation, and Commissioner, be happy to answer any questions that you may have up here, or if you want me to sit down, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, that's going to be the spot for our citizens, so you probably want to go back over there. Appreciate the presentation. Now is the time for you folks. To help us manage our time tonight, could I get an idea, if you just want to raise your hand, to how many folks might want to speak tonight?
5 minutes?
5 minutes?
Hour each. Hour each.
Outreach.
Okay, we're having a debate up here. Commissioner Hanson wants to give you an hour apiece, and Fegan and I are kind of at 5 minutes apiece, and since there's 2 against 1, yeah, I think we'll give you up to 5 minutes, up to, don't have to use all of it each, and Ms. Edwards over here is going to have a sign that she'll hold up when you got 1 minute left, and a stop sign when your time is done. And with that,
You can ask questions.
yep, you can ask questions of the applicant, and I think that's all I've got. So who's up first?
Oh, while you were talking earlier.
Yeah, my name is Tim.
If you punch the button so it's green.
Okay. My name is Tim Lindgren, TimLindgren. My wife and I are at ground zero of this proposed BEST project. Our pasture and cropland sits directly across the road. Our house is only a half mile away. Our well is a quarter mile from the site. I want to speak plainly about risk because my wife and I deal with it every day. In our area, lightning is not theoretical. I have had livestock killed by lightning. I have seen trees destroyed by lightning. And just last Sunday, a barn in our area burned down from a lightning strike, which when lightning hits, it does not ask for a risk assessment first. If a BESS is struck, it may not ignite immediately, but it can be weakened and it must be monitored afterwards. That raises a very real question for those of us living closest. Can we trust Crown Ridge to monitor themselves? This company has already shown us that they have submitted a false participation map listing people who are not signed up, installed turbines with more capacity than permitted, failed to install trailing edges on some turbines, and neglected to fix roads in a timely manner. Now we are asked to trust that this same company will follow every safety rule for a 7-acre industrial battery site. That is not a reasonable expectation. I also reviewed the PUC application. The environmental and safety studies were all conducted by consultants paid by NextEra. That is not an independent review. That is the fox guarding the henhouse. For a project of this size and risk, the public deserves third-party experts, not company-funded assurances. We are told the chance of a runaway fire is low, but to people who actually live in harm's way, low chance is no comfort when it happens. In this situation, the community carries all the risk and none of the benefits. I want to highlight something that shows an imbalance here. Last fall, we bought a 12 by 24 foot utility shed. To move that small building, we were required to get permission from 4 adjacent landowners. Crown Ridge did not ask our permission for a 7-acre best site across from our land. Instead, they offered us a good neighbor agreement, which would have allowed them higher noise levels and prevented us from suing for damages, which is not a good neighbor. That is asking us to sign our rights away. South Dakota currently has no large BESS projects except a 1 megawatt site in Han County. This proposal would set the precedent for the entire state. The South Dakota is known for agriculture, recreation, and natural beauty. Those are long-term assets. A massive BESS placed next to farms within a few miles of schools is a long-term risk. We need to provide our great state of South Dakota. We need to protect our great state of South Dakota. Best case, this project should be denied. But if the commission chooses not to deny it today, then at minimum, delay approval until independent third-party safety and environmental studies are complete. Require strict conditions, including plume modeling, lightning strike protocols, noise limits, groundwater protection, and enforceable monitoring. And ensure ongoing oversight so Crown Ridge cannot self-police a project of this magnitude. Our community deserves nothing less. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lindgren. Who's next? Thank you, sir.
Good evening, commissioners and everyone. I'll keep it short. I think there's a big soccer game.
Yep, and keep your mouth right up to
All right,
that.
I'll keep it up there. All right. My name is Damon Sayer, DAMONSEHR. I'm from Sioux Falls. I'm here tonight in my capacity as a board member of the South Dakota Renewable Energy Association. I'd like to note I'm a lifelong South Dakotan. My day job, I serve as South Dakota Market President for a community bank serving the state here. The South Dakota Renewable Energy Association works to support the responsible development of energy infrastructure across the state, including renewable energy generation, storage, and transmission, while advancing economic opportunity for our South Dakota communities and strengthening the state's energy future. We're here in support of the project for 3 primary reasons. First, reliability. Battery storage helps strengthen our electric grid by storing energy when production is high and making it available when demand increases. So we're storing power when it's abundant and deploying it when it's needed. So as South Dakota continues to grow, energy demand evolves, reliability and resiliency has to remain at the center of that conversation, giving South Dakota more flexibility to respond to extreme weather, shifting customer demand, and changing market conditions. Next, wanted to talk about efficiency. This project makes use of infrastructure that already exists through the Crown Ridge footprint, and that matters. It allows us to maximize prior investment and improve system performance. It's a sensible and practical use of current assets. And third, which is really important, is rural economic opportunity. I'm from a small town in southeast South Dakota. My wife's from a very small town in south central South Dakota. I know how important rural economic opportunity is and how important rural communities are to our state. And projects like this bring investment into our communities, broaden the tax base, and create another avenue for rural counties to participate in South Dakota's evolving energy economy. South Dakota's has long been an energy producing state. Battery storage is a practical step in making our existing energy resources more reliable, more resilient, more efficient, and more valuable for the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Who's next?
Good evening. My name is Michael Klatt, and Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L-K-L-A-T-T, and I live in the South Shore. just north of here. I just have a couple of statements and a couple of questions, more trying to gather information on the whole situation. What I would ask in terms of reviewing the application online, there are references, for instance, South Shore Ambulance Association, which no longer exists. There's a Watertown Ambulance Association. South Shore has a very good fire department. It's a volunteer fire department. References in the presentation that Clay shared about resources. Really important that small rural departments get resources, and beyond the statement of resources, it doesn't say what that means, but it's important for volunteer fire departments to make sure they have the resources to deal with fire in a situation like this, or an emergency response or ambulance services. A couple of things in the application that I still kind of question is there's an area in there that talks about confidentiality or confidential information. I'm not sure what that relates to. I believe it relates to noise. One question on noise for me, in terms of your presentation on the line online, it's hard to understand the numbers and what they really mean in terms of, I think tonight, if we had to listen to this all day long, in terms of noise, we'd all be annoyed by having to listen to the background noise to this. It is important in these projects that the noise mitigation is really taken seriously, so the impacts to the public are minimized as much as possible. And there's a lot of information out there about noise. I don't know what to believe, honestly. I'm just saying it can't be jet engines. And what does that mean? So I don't understand what your numbers mean. I read your reports. They just still don't mean much to me in terms of what that means. Is it annoying like that in this situation? Or is it jet engines? Or is it quiet? And that's just a question in general that I have. Tax values are important. What is a tax value? References tax values. There's not going to be a lot of these data centers built. How is Codington County going to assess the value? What's the appropriate assessment of the value for that? I think that's important to make sure that that's public as well. In general, economic development is important. Growth is good. There's a lot of things about data centers in terms I spent my career in the healthcare field. You have to store radiology, you have to store a lot of things. So I'm sensitive to wanting to have these things developed in an appropriate way, but with good research and solid consideration for all the due diligence that's necessary to make sure that everyone is protected in these types of projects. And thank you for being here.
Could I just ask you, Michael, did you want to ask the question about confidentiality of noise?
Yeah, sure. I think I read there's an area that says this information is confidential in the application. What does that mean?
Sure. Yeah, thank you for the question. I think you're referring to the sound power level for the battery container, and that's more confidential in the report. And that is just it's proprietary information from the equipment manufacturer, so we cannot share that with the public. But what is important, so that number that has been redacted here is it's a measure of the sound energy that is being generated by a piece of equipment. I use that to predict what the sound pressure level will be, and the sound pressure level is what hits the ear. That's what you experience. And to help put those numbers in context, I don't know if you've seen a copy, well, I think you have seen a copy of the report. There is an appendix that contains a noise thermometer graphic that does try to put some of those sound levels, some of those sound pressure levels in some context. So I think, 45 decibels, which is the exterior sound level limit for non-participating residences, that's, according to the thermometer, is similar to a common exterior level for a small town residence. And I think, HUD standards say that should be the target interior sound level. So, and we're showing that for the exterior of the home. So we would expect sound levels to be 10 to 15 decibels quieter inside the home, depending on if we have windows open closed. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, I did read that. I did read the report, and I appreciate the application is all there. I do appreciate that. I don't live there. I live in South Shore. I doubt that I will hear this. I just want, if I was a neighbor, I would not want this
Yeah,
to be
absolutely.
there. I wouldn't want that hum. I wouldn't want that noise to
Right.
be there. And it's a little hard to visualize it when you
Yeah.
read it.
Okay, I think I understand. Just to try to characterize the nature of the sound level, because sound levels that are tonal, when there's a lot of the energy is kind of concentrated in one frequency, those can be considered more annoying. But the primary sound from battery storage containers is fan noise. So it's going to be very broadband, so very similar to like an HVAC unit that a lot of people have sitting outside of their homes. So it's non-tonal, so it should blend into kind of the background more readily than something that would be more tonal.
And so, again, depending on which HVAC systems it use, and I don't want to go deep into that, but the noise from HVACs and depending on how large that system is, again, noise can produce different things from that. So I work in construction. I don't want to go deep down with you there, but I'm just wanting to make sure it's easy to understand there. So my question to you is, I don't know if this is a fair comparison. This is annoying. If I was a neighbor and I had to listen to that from that site, that would be an annoying encroachment of my property, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't have a sound level meter on me.
Neither do I.
I don't have it on my phone, but I would, based on experience, would estimate this sound level in here to be in excess of who has anyone else? So we're looking at in the 60s, 60 dBA, low 60 dBA with, well, we're not talking, it's on to, but if I'm just quiet for a second, we're looking at, low 60s in this room, so this would be quite a bit louder. As they say, a 10 decibel increase is perceived as a doubling, so this would be perceived as more than twice as loud as the limit amenity residences.
Okay.
For what it's worth, having been to much other sites, and just been elsewhere on similar sites, it would be as annoying.
That's good. If they're all smarter than I am, I just wanted to make sure that when I was reading it, I could understand it. I did appreciate what was in there. I'm just reflecting and making sure that noise doesn't impact neighbors as much as possible. Other than that, I appreciate it. I do think it's just important each project gets looked at independently, and I wish you the very best. But thanks for letting me have a few minutes.
Thank you. And that was an interesting kind of practical interaction with being able to judge what that sound is. I do have a follow-up to his question. You indicated that most of the sound is coming from fans, some of it also coming from inverters. Is that correct? And then the real follow-up is this a 24/7 sound, or is it different when energy is going in versus when nothing is happening versus when energy is going out?
Yep, good question. So the fans will be active in cooling the system when the system is either charging or discharging. And so that happens kind of on a cyclical basis, but it will not be constant by any means. So that's why I was saying earlier, we're really kind of looking at the worst case scenario, assuming all the battery components are operating at maximum load, all the wind farm turbines are operating at maximum load. So it's really, the conditions under which that will happen will be rare. You can actually have the batteries charging and discharging, and if it's a cool day or in the evening, all those vans will not be running. So those conditions only occur under, when it's hot weather and when the system is either charging or discharging.
Thank you. Who's next?
John Sleishman with South Shore Fire.
Okay, get right up to that deal and let's hear you.
John Sleishman with South Shore Fire. JONSCHLIESMAN. I just want to start off with saying that we have not been contacted as a fire department about any of this happening. Possibly maybe Watertown has, but as South Shore Fire, we have not been contacted. With that being said, what are we looking at for training, equipment, things like that?
The training is normally in person, and this is something that we do all the time. I'll go around to departments and classroom training to kind of tell you what the things you need to know, most of the how batteries work, so you can really understand the hazard environment and kind of to the fire service, the battery hazard is kind of more relevant in other applications, but you'll be familiarized with the site to know what's out there, what will hurt you, can hurt you, and what tactics they're going to take. Also, how you're going to partner with the owner operator, because they're going to be able to get the information they can have. In the way of specific equipment, you don't need much else. Mostly just CO meters. The meters that you typically have, or 4-gas meter, are going to be the only things that you would need. And if you're training on how to actually use it. So, what it would look like, classroom training, and sidewalk familiarization, so that you know what's out there and know what to do, and know who to call, and know what the hazard is.
Again, I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that as South Shore Fire, we have not been contacted on any of this.
I will make sure that you will get contacted by my project developer, which specifically we enjoy this project, and my apologies for that. And I'd like to talk to you after the meeting to get your contact info.
Okay. It was the same way with the turbines, very little contact with the fire department. We haven't had any training from them on any of this. So again, it's just as a first responder aspect, that's where I worry about when they're stating that they have made contact. There has been no contact made within the local department.
So let me make sure I understood you that on the turbines that have been here for a long time, you've had no training on dealing with a fire on the turbines from the company?
We have had no training on it whatsoever. To the best of my knowledge, we have been instructed if one starts on fire, we are supposed to step back and stay double the length of double the height of the turbine. And we cannot do anything.
Okay, so essentially you've been told contain and let it go.
We can't even spray water on it. If we have to stay, turbines are how tall?
500 plus.
500 plus. So if double that, 1,000 feet, it's hard to get water out 1,000 feet to fight a fire. And again, yes, no training even with the turbines.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next?
My name is Linda Lindgren. My husband and I live across from the proposed best site. 7.8 best project does not require a 52.7 acre site. The only reason to secure that much land is future expansion. More batteries, solar fields, a data center, or a full industrial energy complex. Developers across the country routinely build in phases. Phase 1, then phase 2, then phase 3, each adding another 100 to 200 megawatts of storage. The community deserves to know the long-term plan, not just the first chapter. We are told the percentage of risk is small, but there is no percentage when the outcome is your home, your livestock, your water, your air, or your family. For those of us living next to the site, the risk is not theoretical. It is personal, it is permanent, and it is unacceptable because we are the ones who will pay the price if anything goes wrong. We already live with the noise, shadow, flicker, and other defects of the wind turbines. Now we are expected to accept Even more noise and heat from the BESS, cooling fans, transformers, inverters, and emergency ventilation systems that run day and night. Our current background noise is already high. Adding industrial noise on top of that will change the character of our home and our land forever. This is agricultural land, and BESS is an industrial facility. It does not belong next to homes, livestock operations, or school. The setbacks proposed are nowhere near adequate for a facility with this level of hazard. A 7.8 acre battery site surrounded by 52.7 acres of future potential. Well, that's not surrounded, that's including, but this is not a small project. It is the beginning of an industrial zone in the middle of rural South Dakota. For these reasons, I respectfully request that the commission deny this application. But if denial is not granted today, then at minimum, the commission should require a full, independent environmental review, a third-party fire safety analysis, groundwater protection measures, and industrial level setbacks that reflect the real risks. I'd like to add that we are already at 45 dBA and probably more than that. They were supposed to do a sound study and they came to our property and we thought one was being done, not knowing what was involved. And we found out we weren't included. Then after the wind turbines were put up, they did another sound study. Even with turning wind turbines off here and there, and who knows what they were doing. They were at some points over 45 dBA, and the person reviewing it said, well, we'll just average it out. Well, I can tell you if you get stopped by the police and you're speeding, you're not allowed to average it out. And I don't see how this is going to work with our already 45 dBA at our house. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Hi, good evening. I'm Jamie Dolan.
Okay.
Jamie Dolan. I'm the mayor of South Shore. And I am here also to express, I feel, lack of communication with kind of all of us. How's it going to be cool? I'm learning some of that tonight. We have meetings once a month in South Shore and have not been approached to have any communication with this. Also, I'm here to support as well as Mike Flatsett and our fire department. It's very important that training, everything, there's too many unknowns there. So I feel the communication part of this whole project has really been lacking. I'm a worst case scenario guy, so I do believe there will be a fire. I hope it can be put out soon, fast, all that. We just experienced worst case scenarios in Highmore, South Dakota, when wind towers do go down. So what's going to happen there? How they're going to get cleaned up? Where are they going to go? All these are questions, same with batteries. So communication for us around here is huge. Is it going to affect the aquifer system? Although it's a very shallow aquifer system, that's where South Shore gets their water. And so it's a valid point there. So also just the whole area, I live in South Shore and there is noise with these wind towers. So it's very important that the noise aspects stay low. I can hear the wind towers. You get close to a 20-mile-an-hour wind, even out of the north, and I live north, which the sound should be going that way. I still hear a roll. So noise is a big factor. If there's a whining, fanning noise like this, like Mike said, it's very annoying. So please consider all that for everybody in the area and look forward to communication from you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Who's next?
My name's Wayne Borgheink. It's spelled Borgheink. I'm from Waverly. I worked for a engineer, a man who was an engineer once. He says everything that an engineer designed is designed to fail, because we are not God. We're human. They will fail. When this fails, they do fail. Don't tell me they don't burn. I have read many articles about these things burning up. The smoke travels for miles. I'm a Desert Storm veteran. I spent 6 months driving in the desert with oil wells burning around me. Don't tell me that smoke is going to isolate. If that catches on fire, don't tell me that smoke is going to stay right there, not move. It's going to go whatever the wind. If you've never been in South Dakota during a drought year, 1970s droughts, we rented land from a man who said when he was a kid, they built their house out of stone and fences out of stone, because when them wind turbines 500 feet in the air catch fire at a 30, 40 mile an hour wind during a drought year, you're going to have fire clear across the country. There ain't no fire department here that can fight that fire. I'll guarantee you that. Another question. At our county meeting, they said that in case of a fire, the local fire departments are not allowed to go into the facility because they do not have the training. You have a special unit that goes into that unit to put the fire out. The local fire department is going to have to fight all of these fires all around. I took questions. How long is it going to take for that crew to come here? And where are they going to come from? Where are they going to store the equipment to fight the fire? And how many weeks? In California, they had a fire in one of these. It took 2 weeks and it was still burning. I know it for a fact. All of these local fire departments, as you talked about, do not have the resources or the training to spend all of those days fighting your fires, while all the other people in the county have to wonder, do these fire departments have the ability to put that fire out? Okay? How many? I got a whole list of things. Years ago,
Well, if you want him to answer a question, you're going to have to stop and let him answer, but it's your time.
I'm just laying the questions out. He can answer them later, okay? I have a lot of things. I want these guys. I want to get them thinking, okay? Thank you for, but I just want to get them thinking, because I'm covering a lot in a short period of time here. Farmland. We were told years ago, Codington County denied a permit for a transmission repair shop next to the interstate. 10 acres of land that was useless for anything else, really. But they denied it because we need to preserve farmland. 10 acres of a little triangle right next to the interstate would have made 40 jobs in Codington County. They denied it. As other people have said, what's happening to our farmland? It's being destroyed for all of this stuff. The land that we were told years ago was supposed to be preserved for food and for the good of the country. Second, another thing, you talk about noise. I hear you talk about the noise of the battery storage unit. As Lindgren said, I'm familiar with all of their neighbors and them. They don't just have that to deal with. They already have wind turbines, substations, power lines, and power lines vibrate and make noise too. Them big power lines, don't fool me. They do. I got a friend that lives right next to one of them, and he can't, just the power line keeps him up at night. And you add this to that already. On top of that, how far do you expect these people to go? And you tell me 35 years for this, as Linda pointed out. We were told 5 years ago that these were going to be here for 20 years, and that was the project for 20 years. Now suddenly you're extending it to 30. If you're going to put a 35-year piece of equipment in, that tells me you're going to put in another. You're expecting to run 35 years. We were lied to begin with. Okay, we were lied to about that too. Okay, that was, how far? At what point are these people? How far do these people have to give before you guys have enough? Or can you guys just go home and leave us alone so we can have a life? Because I live just a block away here, 1 mile from a wind turbine, and there's nights when I cannot go outside because my system is so sensitive, because us Desert Storm veterans, thousands of us, are dealing with health issues as a result of all the oil well smoke and chemicals we were exposed to there for fires, just like we will have when that battery storage unit catches on fire and the wind catches it and that smoke goes all over all over this area. Now you can answer them questions if some, find a way to answer the question, but them are questions that I'm hoping everybody else is asking too. I had a lot to cover. And so
You did a fine job of covering a lot of it. Thank you. Who's next?
Evening. I'm Sam Frolke. I'm from Dual County. And
Can you spell your last name for
oh,
us?
sorry. F-R-O-E-H-L-K-E. Now, originally, I was putting together a statement. I was going through the original application for Crown Ridge and the original permit. I was going to say something about their application saying does not have planned or anticipate any future modifications to the project. The original permit saying applicant has no plans for future expansion of the project. And maybe saying something about NextEra's promises not being worth the air they're spoken into. But I don't think I need to go that far. Because I don't think it's that complicated. NextEra is a Florida-based company that has a market cap of almost $200 billion. And apparently that's not enough. I will say too, whatever amount of money they're looking to make off of this expansion, they could probably make by just trimming back on some of their political donations. But it comes down to the question of who wants this. The company does, and the customers do. Customers in Minnesota, people of the Twin Cities are always hungry for more power. North Dakota does. They need all sorts of electricity to fuel their harebrained AI data center money fire. But who doesn't want it? People in South Dakota. We are an energy exporting state. We have enough. We make enough to share. And I think we know that enough is enough. We don't have to build everything just because we can. We don't have to be constantly grasping for more. We don't have to sacrifice our way of life for endless development. So I would just say this, that I would ask you, as the South Dakota Public Utilities Commission, as public servants and elected representatives of the people of South Dakota, to please make a decision for those people, not for the company from Florida or people of Minnesota or North Dakota. Thank you.
And you said you're from Codington County. Can you tell us where?
Dual County.
Dual County?
Toronto.
Okay, thank you. Who's next? Anybody else? Yeah, Dan.
Yeah, excuse me. Dan Teen, Waverly Township, TH Dan, THNNTHYN. I'm a township supervisor, and in the past, when they came in and they built the tower, they worked good with us. They provided us with a road agreement, and our roads were kept up, and we have pretty fine roads right now. And our concern with the township is when and if this goes into effect, when we will get a road agreement and with us in the county at the same time. So we just want to partake in that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay. Well, we certainly appreciate those of you that have come tonight and have given us some input. I would remind you that this is not your last opportunity for input. If you have things that you want us to know in the future, you can send those to us in writing or by email as a comment, and we will we will read those first of all, and then we will put them on our website under comments so that everybody involved in this knows what you are thinking along with us. I think I'm only going to ask one question. It's kind of a technical question based on the presentation. And there was one of the screens that talked about how the battery operated, and it talked about AC being converted to DC, or it talked about the DC being converted to AC as the power is going out. The power going in, is that coming in as AC from the turbines, or is it coming in as DC? That seemed to indicate DC. I thought it was AC. Help me out.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, could you repeat your question for me?
I can. The power going from the turbines to the battery, I thought was AC. This indicated it was DC.
Batteries store DC, like when the battery's storing electricity, it's going to be storing DC electricity.
Oh, I get that.
Right,
But as the energy is coming to the battery from the turbines,
Correct.
it's AC.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Fellow commissioners, anything? Go ahead, Commissioner Fegan.
So thank you so much for coming out. If you have questions tonight, because I heard many of you asking questions, but then you may not have had time or you didn't pause to, these guys are the experts, or they will find the answer for you. So since you didn't necessarily ask at the lectern, please go ask your questions at that table and follow up. And then if you get a response that you want us to know, please send a comment or an email to the PUC so it can be filed and we can read them.
Commissioner Hanson.
Well, thank you all very much for your participation tonight. We have received quite a few emails already, and this evening, as you were discussing with us, I heard a number of you who have already sent emails to us. I appreciate that very much. We will use those, I will, and I know that my fellow commissioners will use those emails and information when we are having a hearing. So if you wish to continue to provide that information to us, please send the emails to the PUC. And as Commissioner Nelson said, we read all those. We also take notes off of those. This is going to be interesting because it's the first time we've worked with this particular type of a project. We worked with numerous types of projects, so there is some synergy in the work that we will be doing. But we appreciate very much your participation.
I think the last thing I will say, it became clear in what I heard tonight that the company has some work to do in the area of communication, particularly with the fire services. And we trust that that will happen. It needs to happen. It will happen. Senator Souter, are you here? Let's see. Oh, there you are. Okay. Thank you for being here also. Appreciate that. As I indicated when I introduced Senator Vilhauer, we appreciate when our legislators are paying attention to what we're doing in the utility space. So thank you for being here. Thank all of you for being here, and we will be adjourned.